All right, we're going to move to my other best bet of this division, which is the Sacramento Kings. I wish we had some music for our producers to pop in that like a Kings theme song here. I will be a Kings backer the entire season. The numbers 32.5 is over minus 150, under plus 115 at Bet Rivers. There's a 34.5 at the top end if you want the under at Superbook and Circa. There's a 33.5 juiced under plus 100 at DraftKings. So you can kind of choose where you want to get this. I have them at 33.5 minus 110 to the over. I bet that early. That's a 5-unit play for me this season. Do you want me to go first, or we've been doing your projection? So let's go. Let me make the case.
I want you to go first. This is your team. I'm not with you on it. I need some convincing. The floor is yours. Tell me why the Kings are going to win 34 games.
Let's start here. They want to win. They want to win. Most of the teams that are shitty in the NBA don't want to win. They're especially not going to want to win this year. We've talked about this in relation to, do you want to play a Spurs under 23.5? The Kings want to win. If they're in a tank-off situation, if they're what would be considered a tank-off situation between two sub-40-win teams, the Kings want to win more. They're desperate to break the playoff drought. They are desperate to do it. It's a mandate. Get into the playoffs. Get people to stop talking about how we haven't been to the playoffs in 18 years. You've got to get into the playoffs. Trying in the NBA goes a long way, guys. I don't know what to tell you. There's just like a lot of nights when just trying is going to get you pretty far because it's an 82-game schedule. And with the travel and the rest and everything else, there's just a lot of nights where players are like, we just don't have it. I just want to go home. It's the end of a West Coast road trip. We beat the Clippers and we went out till 4 a.m, had a back-to-back versus the Lakers. Now it's 2 days later. I had too much to drink after the Lakers game, and then I had to get on a plane. It's 2 days later. I still don't feel great. And now we're playing the Kings. Okay, we're down 15. They shut the lights out, whatever. Like, this matters to me that they just want to win. They had a plus 3.4 win differential last season, Pythagorean expectation. Teams with that high or higher, 12, 9, and 1 to the over. It's not a great number, like Brandon mentioned, where it's like 22 instances over 10 years. I get it, but this does too. They tend to trend over. When you drop this down to plus 1.6, the trend gets a little bit higher. Teams that overperform tend to go over. That's a crazy stat, I know, but it's one that really is guiding a lot of my betting going into the season because it's about where the number is placed on this. They won 30 games. They won 30 games last season. I just got to get a few more with what's going to be a better roster. They add Kevin Huerter. They add some more of this. There's a massive coaching upgrade here. And you go like, wait, their coach is Mike Brown, who does not have a great history in the NBA. Mike Brown doesn't have a great history of winning playoff series and winning 50 games and being amazing. Mike Brown's a really solid coach. It's why he won titles with Golden State. It's why he's been in the league for as long as he has. Mike Brown's a really good coach. And the biggest reason that's an upgrade over Alvin Gentry is not really about Alvin. It's about how much Alvin openly last season was like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. Like, that's basically where Alvin was. And it was exhausting, and the team was young and mistake prone, and it drove Alvin crazy. I think Mike Brown will come in with a little bit more of a renewed level of energy. He'll get them to commit more. They're going to be a bad defensive team. I get that. I get they're going to be a bad defensive team. There's lots of bad defensive teams that go over 33.5 wins. Sabonis and Fox's record together wasn't great. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you it was, but they only played 13 games together. Sabonis, Fox, and Barnes, in the minutes they did play together, had a minus 0.7 net rating. And you go, Matt, that's a negative. That's fine. Minus 0.7 is basically a 41-win team, maybe 40, which guess what that gets us? That gets us a full 6 wins over. That's 6 wins over the lowest number on the board. Teams that won 30 games the previous season with a positive P-win differential, the Pythagorean differential, and missed the playoffs, 11-5 to the over. Teams that miss the playoffs with a number below 40 tend to go over at a pretty high rate if they weren't one of the bottom feeders, if they just win more than 30 games. That 30 games mark is really important in this. 50 and 30 are two of the most important numbers I found in doing all these kinds of random splits across all these. I like the roster. Brandon, Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox. Fox pops up a lot in our most improved player because the advanced numbers on him are really good. He just never really kind of puts it all together. Love Davion Mitchell. Love Keegan Murray. Love Harrison Barnes as a floor setter. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this team is going to go out and win 3 of 4 from the Clippers in the season series. Will they sneak up on some squads? Yeah, I think they will because they want to more so. 33.5 is an absolute over for me. They got veterans, they've got young talent. The number's really low. Over 33.5 for the Kings. Best bet.
All right. Is this how many units? How strong of a best bet is this? Is it a 5 unit for you?
I put the 5 in.
All right. Okay. So I have a lot to respond to. Let me start with the projection for them. I had the Kings 17th on offense. I had them 26th on defense. It doesn't sound like you disagree too much with where I've ranked them defensively. Much to nobody's surprise, that means I don't like the team because defense regular season is heavy correlation for me. That projects to 27 to 35 wins. So if I can get a 34.5, that means that I should either lean or possibly bet the under. So that's where I started here. I don't like the roster. I certainly don't love the roster. I don't hate the roster, but the guys that we're talking about, Sabonis and Davion Mitchell and Keegan Murray and De'Aaron Fox, they're fine. They're NBA starters. I'm not sure if Davion Mitchell will end up that way, but they're floor raisers to an extent that this team's not going to be the Thunder or the Pistons or one of the, like, they're not that. They're not that bad of a team. I just don't know if they're that much better than it. In a West that is very competitive and very loaded, I agree with you on two big things, which is why I'm hesitant to go too hard on the under here. Number one, they're absolutely trying to win and develop culture, and they're going to show up every night, and they're not going to tank, or they're going to go all the way to the finish line trying to win. So that's not fun betting the under against a team that is randomly going to beat like a good team some night because they just showed up. Number two is Mike Brown. I had a couple NFL analogies for this team. Mike Brown to me is akin to Jacksonville hiring Doug Peterson. I think they're both a little overrated. You don't want them with your team going to win a title, but Urban Meyer is gone. Luke Walton is gone. Alvin Gentry is gone. It was bad. Now it's fine. Now it's like 20th best coach or something, maybe. Mike Brown, especially defensively, can help this team. And if that means that instead of being 26th on defense, you're 21st or 18th, that matters. If that's where I had them, then I would be on your over. Like if Mike Brown can do that, and with defense, coaching can do that, that does matter. So that gives me a little hesitation. The other end of the spectrum is the division. We're in this division. This is the AFC West of the NBA. You've got three great teams we talked a lot about. The Lakers, by the way, are the Raiders in this division. Let's be very clear about that. But now we added another team after all of those. They are going to play a lot of division games as heavy underdogs. I know the schedule isn't, like we talked about, that doesn't necessarily correlate to, well, they're going to lose all those games, so they're bad and they're worse in the division. They can't go over. It's not great. It's not great to have all those. I can't get past the defense. To like this team, I have to think they can be something above a top 5 or 7 defense. It's a bonus at center. It's not happening. It's not good. You'll be no rim protection. And I don't know what Mike Brown does to solve that. I think Keegan Murray and Davion Mitchell are fine defenders, but not going to fix things. Fox has not been good on that end. Barnes is okay, I guess. Maybe these guys that are okay can be good enough. I don't know. I don't think I've talked myself into betting the under here, but I'm leaning under. I know I haven't talked you out of the over. You're already on it. I kind of want to bet the under just because Portland and Sacramento are the only two teams we've really gone head to head on. And I really am not with your over on this. And I'd kind of like to just be on the other side of Sacramento and rooting for the Kings to lose all year against you. But there's enough reasons that they could get to 34, 35. I can't get too excited about an under.
I mean, I think a lot of this is actually shows like your growth. It shows the growth of both of us in terms of like the betting side, which is I knew you were going to lean under. This team sucks. You hate teams that suck. You love teams that are great. Like
it's true.
That's what a lot of this division is like the Warriors. You're like, but they're awesome. I don't want to bet the under. They're awesome. And with the Kings, you're like, I don't want to bet the over. They suck. And I'm very much in the spot of, yeah, but everyone knows that they suck. So the number's too low. And yeah, everyone knows that they're great. So the number's too high. And that to me is where I'm like trying to evolve to as I try and get better at this is trying to aim for those disparities in where the edge is. And you can go too far where you could be like, is that really that low of a number? It's not. If this number was like 29.5, you'd probably be like, that's a ridiculous number. I probably have to bet the over. I don't want to, but I probably have to. 33.5 is different. I get that. Here's an interesting note. I just looked this one up because I hadn't actually found this one. I always talk about the verse that you asked, like, where the wind's going to come from, right?
Okay.
The Los Angeles Lakers last season versus teams under 500 were 18-15. The Portland Trailblazers were 12-20. The San Antonio Spurs, who won 34 games, were 21-12. Sacramento Kings were 20-12 versus teams under 500.
Okay, interesting.
So this is the model. Okay, is they just beat the teams that are worse than them at a little bit higher level, and they do a little bit better versus the mid-tier teams. Because I'm gonna bet if I were to break this down into above 60%, 60-40, 40 and below, we probably have starker splits. Just really need the Kings to get a few more rando wins versus X, Y, or Z. 7-8 in 3-point games, not terrible, not good. If that goes their way, that could wind up leading, helping out like a little bit. They were 10-40, one of the worst records versus teams 500 and above. What that honestly tells me, Brandon, is that a lot of times they were the team that the good teams randomly like got enough to get by versus some of these other teams where it's like they weren't good, but they snuck up and won a few more games. Like that's so bad. That's enough of an outlier versus even the bad games that I'm kind of like, that's an outlier.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So I find that compelling. You have convinced me out of betting an under here. I'm not going to bet it. I'm just going to be leaning. Here's the reason. The thing that you said I found most compelling is the concept of like, what if we could split the league and make an A league and a B league? And we took out the teams. We decided who are the top 15 teams. They're in their own league. They're in the Champions League version of basketball. And the Kings are not. They're not in that group. They're in the other group. How would they do in the new league that we've created where like, I don't know, the Raptors are like the title favorite or something. Sorry, Raptors fans. If the Kings were in that new league, I think I would kind of like them. I think they'd be fine. I think in the version of basketball where I focus on, like, when I say the Kings suck, they're going to lose a lot of games. That's because I'm picturing them playing the teams that I don't think suck, and I think they're going to lose a lot of those games.
Right.
But could the Kings beat the Pistons and the Thunder and the Rockets and the Spurs and the Pacers? And, oh, man, when I start listing teams, there's a lot of teams I could think the Kings could beat because now Keegan and Sabonis and Fox and Davion, yeah, compared to those teams, that's a real floor. And I would definitely rather have the Kings winning that game than any of those other teams that I just said. All right, I can kind of see that. Now, in that league, in the league where they're playing all the bad teams, could they go 20-12 against those crappy teams? Yeah, I think they could do that. I'm not going to join you on the over, but I think they could do it. So you've sold me enough that I no longer will. Well, no, I'm still going to victory lap over you if the Kings don't do well this year, but not as hard as I would have.
I don't enjoy betting on the Kings over. This is not something that I'm like, wow. But for me, the play was strong enough when I looked at everything for me to go that way.
Okay, let me hit you with 3 alternates if you like them. I want to see if you like any of the alternate overs here. So you can play an over 36.5 at DraftKings for plus 200. Yay or nay over 36.5?
No, don't want it.
Okay. You can play 4th place in the division. So that all you got to do is finish ahead of anybody, plus 475.
No, I don't.
Okay. Last one. This is the one I think is best of the 3. To make the play-in, plus 220 at DraftKings.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I haven't bet it because I don't like the number. Right. Like to me, it's just like, wait, you're telling me that this team sucks. You're telling me that 33.5 is a median outcome for them. And I'm only getting plus 225 for them to sneak into the top 10. That doesn't seem like great return for me. It doesn't excite me. I'd rather just bet more on the over, if that makes sense.
That's interesting because I actually would go the other way. Like if I want to put money on the Kings in the West, I have a clear 11 teams trying to get in, and then a clear 4 that are going to be nowhere near. And the play-in is only 10 out of the 11. So all I have to do is get the Kings ahead of 10 other teams that anything could go wrong. I feel better about that outcome. Like there's a world, maybe they're not. I think there's a world where the Kings go under and could make the play-in if the tiers are as wildly separated as I think they are. And I'm getting more than 2-1 on it. So for me, I would rather bet that, but yeah, I'm just not going to bet either. Those are my three.